This is Coldture's classic cold plunge and their Chiller Pro. It gets down to 37 degrees Fahrenheit, it's portable, and there's a bunch of other unique additions to help improve your health and your mental resilience, which is why I personally use it. But to answer if this product is worth it, we need to look at its three main parts. And before we do that, if you do decide to get one for yourself, there's a discount code and a link down below that helps support this channel. The first and most important part of any cold plunge is the tub. And once you get this out of the box, it actually takes minutes to pump up. It fits up to 2 people comfortably, where you can get the water all the way up to your neck, which is the ideal point. And it also has a lid, which I have a love-hate relationship with. They have these nice little straps that make sure that it's not going to fly away with the wind, and it's also more child safe. But they decided to not add a lip, which they have in their cheaper version. It's really handy because if you're leaving it outside, it makes sure that leaves and bugs don't get into your water. But thankfully, when you combine the lid and the tub itself, it creates this insulated environment where your water can actually stay cold for much longer. So if you're using ice, that means it's going to last longer, or if you're using a chiller, it's going to be more efficient. If you do end up going with the latter, there's already in and out points set up right on the tub itself. But as you already saw, it's inflatable, so you can deflate it, put it into the backpack they give you, and take it up, say for example, to the cottage for the weekend. This does come at a cost though, because you might damage it and puncture a hole in it. It does come with a repair kit, and it's made of the same stuff that paddle boards are made of, so it's unlikely, but it could happen. But what really makes or breaks your cold immersion practice is the chiller, and boy, this one is impressive. Coldture decided to design their chiller eerily similar to the Apple Mac Pro, with the cheese grater design and also the chrome handles, which make it easier to move around. You're not going to be doing that very often because god damn it is heavy, but it does look nice. Pretty bold choice, but it's by far one of the nicest chillers on the market right now. But what's unique about this unit is it's not just a chiller. It can also turn your cold plunge into a hot tub, going from as low as 37 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 105, which is way more than enough for a hot tub. To be able to do that though, you need to set it up with your tub. And not gonna lie, it was a pretty tedious experience. This is my first time doing it, and using plumber's tape and the washers that are included to make sure that there were 0 leaks at all was a pretty big challenge. I actually wanted to set mine up inside just to film a little bit. It's now outside, but I needed to make sure there was no leaks at all, or there was going to be water everywhere and a bunch of mold. Luckily, I was able to do that, but it took a lot of effort. Once that's done, you can set your temperature using the built-in screen, or you can use their app, which you can do a bunch of other handy features on as well that we'll talk about later in the video. But in the process of cooling your water, it has to go through 3 levels of filtration. The first is a little filter on the tub itself that makes sure leaves and much larger debris don't get into the chiller. Then there's a pre-filter, which still is for larger debris, but it's just another layer of security. Then it goes into the Big Bertha filter that needs to be replaced every like 3 months, and it's more so for smaller debris. And this means that every 15 minutes, all of the water in your entire cold plunge is going to be filtered. Once that's done, the water is going to go from the filter to the heat exchanger, which is where the temperature actually changes. And based on if you're heating or cooling, the opposite is actually going to be pumped out of the fan, which when I heard the fan for the first time, I got a little worried. So this is the overall sound in the room itself. Then when the water is actually being chilled, this is what it sounds like. Then once it gets to your desired temperature, the fan turns off, and this is what it sounds like then. And this amount of noise is very tolerable, but because it's insulated, it will stay at that temperature for quite a decent amount of time. Again, depends what the ambient temperature is around your space. And then once it gets to 1 degree plus or minus your set temperature, it's then going to kick on again and make sure it's chilling or heating your water. But to be able to do that, it needs to draw power. And the plug is just a standard one that goes right into a normal outlet. Thank God it's not some special fancy connector, but it also has inline GFCI built right onto it. So in the worst case scenario, some moisture gets into there, it's actually going to trip to make sure that you're not electrocuted and your chiller is not going to be completely fried. And the whole chiller has a waterproof rating of IPX5. The X just means that For dust, it hasn't really been tested at all. It's probably going to resist some of it, but they haven't decided to do that. And then the waterproof score is 5 out of 9. To give some context here, your iPhone 17 Pro is going to be an 8 out of 9, meaning that it can be submerged underwater for 30 minutes. Versus the 5 essentially means that if I take a hose and spray it, it's still going to be completely fine. So you don't have to worry if your chiller's going to be outside and there's going to be a rainstorm, it should be completely fine. But one thing to keep in mind, if you live in the Great White North, up here in Canada like I do, you're going to have to take your chiller inside at 14 Fahrenheit or -10 Celsius. That just makes sure that your beautiful chiller is not going to be damaged. And besides, Mother Nature is going to be chilling the water for us anyway. But what if something does go wrong? Well, that Apple design is not for nothing. You can actually just take out 6 screws, popping off the magnetic screen with a flat screwdriver, and then sliding off the entire thing, making it quite easy to access the inside. Once you do that, you'll see that the internal design is actually really well thought out. The wet part of the process that's actually chilling the water, all those components are centralized in one area. And then all the electronics are in a complete different area. So you have a separation between the two. But one thing to just keep in mind, if you do get one of these chillers, you want to make sure that you're regularly checking this air filter right here. It'll make sure that your chiller is still running efficiently, and it's just going to be like the other filters in your home. If it's full of a bunch of dust, your machine's not going to run as efficiently. But what's also nice is they decided to add a Wi-Fi connector into the chiller that allows you to connect it up to the app. This means that you can set up a schedule for your cold plunge so that it doesn't always have to be running. For example, where I live, I know that energy is cheaper from midnight all the way up to 7 a.m. So I can run the chiller in the morning during that period of time for a few hours and get it all the way to the coldest temperature. Then I can set it to automatically turn off, and the insulation within the tub itself will keep roughly around that same temperature until I decide to cold plunge later in the day. What's also nice though is I don't personally cold plunge every single day. So I can set schedules where this only happens, say, from Monday to Thursday. This also means that whenever I want to do an ad hoc spontaneous session and I drive over to the office, bring my sauna box and want to do a hot cold session, I can in advance turn on the chiller and make sure it gets to the temperature that I want so that I'm ready to go right when I get there. But what's always frustrating is, say your breaker trips or you lose power. What's nice is the app will actually notify you that the chiller has turned off, so you can go and resolve that. If you do decide to get Coldture's Classic Tub and their Chiller Pro, it's going to cost 5,499 Canadian dollars. That's because the company is actually based out of Canada. But there's oftentimes a discount on the website. Included in that, there's a 2-year warranty that will cover any defects that might come up. But if you want to save additional money, there's a discount code down below, as I mentioned, that helps support this channel, and that'll actually stack on top of any promotions that are on the website. If you enjoyed this video, I feel like you'll love this video right here. And if you want more content like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a lovely day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.